Coach, if you don't mind starting us off, just letting us know a little bit about the excitement heading into opening week, and then we'll open up for questions.
Yeah, we've been grinding on this field for, it seems like, forever. So everybody's really excited. Team's looking good. They're playing well. Upperclassmen are excited. There's 10 of them. 10 very, very monumental athletes that have been in our program that I hope everybody gets to enjoy this last season with them because they're special. They've done special things here. Pitching staff is ready. I mean, we're ready. Now we're just waiting. So the wait is over and we're going to be ready.
Jimmy?
Patty, I mean, obviously you've got a ton of talent. What's your thought process at this point in lineup and then defensive alignment? Do you have a sense of where you're going in either direction?
First question. Right now, I think Tiara is going to be working over at shortstop. Alyssa Brito's so good at third. It's hard to move her out of there, and her experience is something else. I've got 3 vying at second. That's Avery Hodge, Quincy Lilio, and Alina Torres. But Alina Torres can do a lot of things. Avery can also play shortstop. Q can also play the outfield. So there's opportunities for all of them. Jada Coleman in center, Kinsey Hansen behind the plate, Riley Ludlam's a nice backup there. The outfield is still fighting. I mean, there's really good hitters. Our freshman Ella Parker, she's not playing first. It'll be Sid Sanders at first, but Ella Parker's got to be in this lineup. So that's one thing that I'm certain. Cassidy Pickering's a big-time hitter as well. Now you've got Hannah Core, who had a great fall, and you've got Riley Boone, who is the starter of everything. So there's going to be a lot of movement this first weekend. We've got to give everybody opportunity to see how they handle, but likely the opportunity is going to be the matchup that fits them from the opponent offensively. So I really can put anybody in at any time. So I'm going to really try to unload the bench as much as I can throughout each game.
Is the offensive lineup you expect it to be a little bit in flux too as the season starts?
Yeah, I mean it's going to look pretty similar probably from the top to the middle, but man, there's some power. These freshmen are special. You'll get to see that, but we haven't gotten it down quite yet. I think the seniors are so ready to play. Some of them are just not hitting the ball the way they want to, but once we throw the first pitch, all that stuff goes away and they're ready to go.
Eric?
Patty, the last 3 years going into the season, you always talk about challenging the players, making them compete. You've had success the last 3 years. Do you try to find new ways to challenge the players, new ways to compete with them?
Yes, always. JT does that as well offensively, where we're trying to set up games or challenges. And Fungo, I'm just trying to hit the ball through the left side, through the right side. They love that stuff. They thrive on competition, so we're always trying to keep it working hard and competitive and so forth, so it's always there.
Do you see the pitching rotation kind of growing like it has in the past few years where you see what you got, see what you can do? Do you think it's going to evolve during this first month?
I do. I think it's really hard for them. We don't talk much about it, but every day they're glaring at this lineup. And the lineup knows pretty much everything. So they have worked on changing game plans against certain hitters to mix them up a little bit. But you're going to see, again, what's the matchup? What's the matchup? Is it Carly Keeney to start and someone to close? We've got 6 very viable pitchers. All of them could help us in some way, shape, or form. It may be very likely you see Nicole May to get started because she is like the matriarch of this pitching staff, and she's earned it and deserved it. But you're going to see a lot of looks this weekend as well. We've got to get this figured out as to who is going to be a game changer for us in the first 3 weeks.
James over here.
Patty, it sounds like you have a lot of depth, and we always enjoy watching you coach and how you do things. But you have, in your opinion, like last year, good pinch hitters, pinch runners, defensive switches that you can do. You feel like you have as much depth, you can do those things.
Absolutely. And we've got speed, which looks quite different than what you're used to. You're used to seeing home run trots. These guys can move. They can steal bases. I've got Riley Ludlum, our senior catcher off the bench that can change the game in one swing. We've got lethal hitters on the bench. We're very deep. I could do a lot of different things. So it's fun. That's fun. That's fun about coaching, is that you've got so much versatility. If there's any injuries, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of losing anyone because we can still do what we need to do.
Redshirting is, I would assume with the COVID years going away, redshirting becomes a factor again, or does it in women's softball?
It does. A lot of that has to do with injury. We've got Nellie McEnroe Marinas, a freshman out of Hawaii, who just had surgery, so she's going to be redshirting. If you have sometimes too many pitchers in the bullpen, you think about maybe redshirting one, but I think we need all 6 of these. So right now, that's the only red shirt that we have.
Bounce across to Ryan.
Yeah, Patty, you brought up Hannah in the fall that she had. Wonder how she's doing physically and what kind of progress have you seen from her, and how important was that fall for her to get back in the swing of it?
Yeah, it was big for her. She works really hard. She's got impingements on her lower back. That's very painful. And some days it's okay and some days it isn't, but she's trying to fight through it. And through that, she had the best fall, one of the best falls of anyone on our team. So can she maintain that? Can we handle the pain? What can we do to help her? It's something that there's really no solution to. So she's having to deal with a lot of pain, and it's just wearing on her psyche a little bit. But if we can keep her steady, she's going to be a big help to us as well.
Ryan on this end.
You started off talking about the 10 that you're hoping everyone's getting to enjoy as they kind of go through their last year, but 5 of those have spent their entire career here. Have you had a chance to appreciate and enjoy that, or is it so laser focused that that's something for you to do later on?
I think about them more than I ever have, because I know this is like the end of well, I don't want to say that because we have a good freshman class. It's not the end of a big long string, but it is the end of one of the most elite classes that has ever and may ever play softball. So that's why I understand that, because I get to see it every day. They're special, they're different, and their style of competitive spirit is very infectious on this team, and it's really infectious to our freshmen, which is exactly what I'm looking for. So they have big personalities, they're great players, they're great young women, so it's going to be hard to see them go, and I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to coach the heck out of them and try to get every ounce of softball out of them that we can.
And then Carly, we didn't get to see her for a big chunk in the fall.
Yeah.
Has she got back up and where you need her to be heading into the season?
Yeah, I couldn't. Well, I won't get into the story, but I had a big part of her not being. I'll give you just the backstory on this. So we had our first practice, and I always jump pitchers like, you've got to be athletes, you got to step up, you got to be like infielders. I'm just all over them. So we're in this drill and we're moving really fast, and pitchers don't work that way. But Carly Keeney does, and she rounds second, like she's going from shortstop. I'm hitting a ball by second. She lays out, dives for it, breaks her finger. First practice of our season. So I've not seen her pitch until about January 15th or so. So she's catching up real quick, but she's got a really fun, gritty style about her. She is focused. She's a fighter. I'm really, really excited to see what she can do for us.
Eli here.
Patty, you mentioned perhaps wanting to use all 6 pitchers, having a need for all of them. How has the game shifted away from leaning on 1, 2 pitchers max, and not just for player safety, but also strategically?
Yeah, I think you guys, some of you were around when Paige Parker was here, and she pitched almost every inning of every game in postseason. And I promised myself, we won that season, but I could have, it's hard to watch because she is so physically, mentally, and emotionally exhausted. And I promised myself I would never do that again. And that is why I'm really trying to get a good stable of pitchers that complement each other. But hitters are getting better, and a pitcher can't sustain for 7 innings much more these days. So you need, we're looking at like who's our starter, who's our middle reliever, and who's our closer. Everyone, 3 of these pitchers have a role in a game, and they know it. And that's, and I think what happens for us at least is when we get into postseason, our pitchers are fresh. They're not worn out, and that's a big plus for us.
You've found a lot of different ways over the years to motivate your teams, books, movies, songs. What's been the message that you wanted to get to this team before you go to Mexico? And have you employed any interesting tools of getting it there?
Do you understand Spanish? Because I said it to them in Spanish to prepare them for...
Tan un poco.
No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. No comprende. I am trying to get them to enjoy, the stress of the moment comes. I'm trying to get them to just play free. They're used to doing that. New athletes come into this program and they look around at the athletes and like, oh geez, okay, I got to perform at this level. There's a little bit of that. So half of our team are returners, the other half are newcomers. So it's trying to really blend them. And I think we're doing a pretty good job of that. I just got to get the nerves calm. I got to get them to have fun. I got to get leaders to lead, and that's the upperclassmen. I've got to count on them. I've got to have a team that's playing as a team and not as individuals. And when the lineup is written out, that they're not having, tantrums and pouting over that, that they were just adults, that they're women, playing like women, acting like women. And if we can do that, we're going to win a lot of games. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Do time for a couple more. We'll go Jesse, and then back to George.
Patty, you've talked a lot about how special this upperclassmen group is, but you've also talked about how talented the freshman group is. And you mentioned a little bit in the fall of that kind of having to prepare the next generation of players. What is that balance between obviously leaning on this special group of experienced upperclassmen, but also trying to get these freshmen ready to, to get them experience and everything too? Is there a balance there between those two things?
You know what? It's started to where usually when freshmen come in and they're lost, people kind of stay away from them, like figure it out. What this upperclassmen group has been doing for us is really taking time to teach them. So if something happens in the outfield, Jada Coleman is right there saying, hey, look, you got to do this. So is Riley Boone. They're doing good jobs of that. Hitting wise, you've got Alyssa Brito, TRA, Kinsey Hansen will bring them in and hit extra with them. So I have to lean on this upperclassmen group because I've asked them, who was that person for you? And that person was Lindsay Elam. That person was Grace Lyon. They all had a name. I'm like, don't you want to be that name? Don't you want them to say that about you when they're seniors? And just trying to get them to understand their worth and handing the torch to this next group because it's going to be tough as we go into the SEC. We're really starting from ground zero with a whole new group, and I'm excited about that because I get to coach again. These guys know everything. They don't need us anymore, so it's going to be nice to do my job again.
Patty, it's probably difficult, maybe impossible, to replace Grace Lyons at shortstop, not only on the field but off the field. How have you seen TRA maybe step up into that role, both as a leader and at shortstop?
Yeah, TRA's quite different than Grace. She's handling shortstop really well. She's not a big vocal. She's not that at all. So we have co-captains this year, which is Kinsey Hansen, who has more of the voice, TRA Jennings that has more of the, talk it out type. I've used Riley Boone. Riley Boone's the one that checks on everybody individually, how you doing, kind of that social. And Jada Coleman is just the hype girl that's really, really smart about softball. And you might look at her and go, gosh, she's incredible and she's crazy. She's really, really smart. She would be a really, really good coach if she wanted to, but she doesn't have the patience for that. So she's going to go off and be a trophy wife for some football players.
Last one for Joe.
I was just going to secondly
Yeah.
ask, are you getting antsy at all to go play at Love's Field? And are you
Oh
confident
yeah,
it's going to get
yeah. I just got a tour of it today, and I haven't seen it in a couple months. And I actually went with Jenny Love, and her and I were both enjoying it together. And there are things that I did not know were happening. So we got down onto the actual field, and I'm looking up at that was Joe Castiglione's idea to create the outline of Oklahoma, and I'm like, okay, that sounds kind of corny, but when I see it, I'm like, that is awesome. I think it's the coolest thing. So I got to see Jenny, see the Loves family, their logo up there. But I was standing on the field right by home plate, and I'm looking out into the outfield, and they have grandstands on top of the, what do I want to call it? Like the walkway. And I didn't know that. So they just added another 500 or 600 seats. So now I'm standing there going, oh my, it's grand. It is grand. So I'm trying to explain to our team, and they're just going nuts because they are dying to see it. But I got to see what their lockers look like, but we're not able to go in it. We're going to play on it, but we're not able to go in it quite yet because there's still a lot to do. So probably by mid-April, it should be completely done.
Patty, you all are already in unprecedented territory, having won 3 straight, and now the thought of going after a 4th. Are you ever able to step back and, instead of looking at these seasons individually, kind of have that broader perspective of what you all have been able to accomplish over the last several years?
I'm not a real deep thinker when it comes to things like that. I just go. I just go. I think that's why we try to be a very humble group. We don't look back at our laurels. We just want to keep running forward, keep raising the OU flag, keep being that team that everybody's trying to get. They have embraced that. That's a tough place to be. We were always a team that, even though we were not underdogs, I would talk them into the fact that we're underdogs. Now I can't do that anymore. They understand where they stand, but they're ready to fire back. They're ready to fire first. That's really the attitude. So they're ready. This is going to be a tough one. This is going to be a really tough season for us. I feel that coming. So I'm able to see what kind of women rise from the ashes here. That's going to be the most important thing.
You might have just answered it in part, but even though the group changes a little bit year after year, does it get progressively harder knowing that maybe the target on your back gets bigger and bigger every year?
Maybe a little bit. This one is just different. I mean, the expectation. And winning 4 in a row is unheard of. Unheard of. You can't even wrap your mind around it. Even winning 3. And so for them, they want to be a team that did something that maybe nobody in maybe my lifetime will ever do on the softball field again. And that is something special. And they like to be able to chase those moments. But we got to do it without thinking of outcomes and results. We've got to do it just in a free manner, which is when they're their best.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.